that feeling when you watch old home videos and something feels wrong? Not obviously wrong, just off. Like there's a detail your brain keeps trying to show you, but you're not ready to see it yet. I've been staring at these recordings for 3 months now, frame by frame, pixel by pixel, and I finally understand why my sister Emma spent her last days screaming about shadows that moved when they shouldn't, voices that came from empty rooms, and something she called the Watcher that followed her everywhere. The doctors said it was schizophrenia. Classic onset, they explained. Early 20s, family history of mental illness on our mother's side. Auditory and visual hallucinations, paranoid delusions, social withdrawal, textbook case. They were wrong. Welcome to the Obscura Law Vault, where we dig deep into the stories that refuse to stay buried. I'm your host, and today's investigation will challenge everything you think you know about the line between mental illness and supernatural terror. Today's case: my sister's psychological episodes were diagnosed as schizophrenia. The family videos show something was actually following her. Chapter 1. Let me start at the beginning, because the beginning is where it all went wrong, and we were too blind to see it. Emma was always the creative one in our family. While I buried myself in accounting textbooks, she had her camera constantly running. Birthday parties, family dinners, random Tuesday afternoons, she documented everything. Said she was creating a visual diary of our lives. Looking back at those early videos now, before everything changed, there's something almost painful about how normal we all were. Dad making his terrible jokes during Thanksgiving dinner, Mom fussing over Emma's hair, me, awkward and 17, trying to avoid the camera. Emma turned 22 in March of 2023, the last normal birthday she'd ever have. In the birthday video, she's radiant, blowing out candles, laughing at Dad's speech about how proud he is of his little filmmaker. But if you watch carefully, and I mean really carefully, there's a moment right after she makes her wish. She looks over her shoulder, just for a second, like someone called her name from the kitchen doorway behind her. But the kitchen was empty. I remember because I was standing right there. The first real episode happened 2 weeks later. Mom called me at 2 a.m. sobbing. Emma had barricaded herself in her room, screaming that someone was trying to get in through her window. 3rd floor window, no fire escape, no tree branches, nothing. When we finally convinced her to open the door, she looked hollow, like something had been scooped out of her and replaced with raw fear. She kept pointing at the window, insisting we could see the handprints on the glass. There were no handprints. That's when the doctors entered our lives. Dr. Margaret Holston, psychiatrist. Kind woman, really seemed to care about Emma. Explained how stress from college, family pressure, and her age group made her particularly vulnerable to psychotic breaks. The diagnosis came after a series of tests and interviews: paranoid schizophrenia with acute episodes, antipsychotic medications, therapy, family counseling, a treatment plan that looked hopeful on paper. But Emma kept filming. Even during the worst episodes, she'd have that camera running. The doctors said it was part of her delusion, that she believed she was gathering evidence of her persecution. They were half right. She was gathering evidence, just not the kind they thought. Chapter 2. 3 weeks into treatment, Emma's episodes began following a pattern. Always between 11 p.m. and 3 a.m., always starting with her claiming someone was watching her from the hallway, always escalating to complete terror until she'd collapse from exhaustion around dawn. Dr. Holston adjusted her medication, increased therapy sessions, talked to us about the importance of maintaining a stable, supportive environment, but the episodes got worse. Emma started setting up cameras in her room at night, Motion activated, infrared, multiple angles. She said she needed to show us what was really happening, what we refused to see. The footage from those nights. God, I wish I'd never seen it. The first thing you notice is how normal it looks. Emma, sleeping restlessly, tossing and turning. Typical footage you'd expect from someone dealing with medication side effects and psychological distress. But then, around 11:30 p.m., she sits up abruptly, eyes wide open, staring directly at her bedroom door, and she starts talking. Emma's voice distant and scared. "I know you're there. I can see you now. Why won't you leave me alone?" The door is closed. The hallway light is off. According to the timestamp, Mom and Dad are asleep downstairs, and I'm at my apartment across town. Emma's voice came again. "Please, I don't understand what you want from me." She gets out of bed, approaches the camera, and adjusts it slightly. That's when you can see her face clearly in the infrared. The terror is real. Whatever she's experiencing, it's not just in her head, at least not the way the doctors think. Emma's voice, whispering, "It's getting closer. Can you see it in the doorway? It's so tall, and it's reaching." The footage cuts to black. When Emma showed this to Dr. Holston, the response was predictable. Proof of her delusions, evidence that the hallucinations were becoming more vivid and interactive. They increased her dosage again. But I noticed something the doctor missed. In the infrared footage just before Emma got up, there's a temperature change visible in the room. You can see it as a slight color shift on the thermal imaging. Something cold entering a warm space. Something was in that room. Chapter 3. Emma's condition deteriorated rapidly through May and June. The episodes became nightly occurrences. She lost weight, barely slept, spoke in whispers about the tall figure that stood at the foot of her bed, watching her. But she kept filming, obsessively, frantically. She set up cameras in every room of the house, convinced that whatever was tormenting her was spreading its influence. Mom and Dad were falling apart. Dad started drinking again. Mom spent her days crying and researching alternative treatments online. The family counseling sessions became battlegrounds where everyone blamed everyone else for Emma's decline. Dr. Holston recommended inpatient treatment, a psychiatric facility where Emma could be monitored 24/7, where her medications could be managed more aggressively. That's when Emma made her final recording. "If something happens to me, if I don't come back from the hospital, I need someone to watch these tapes. All of them, not just the night recordings. Look at the family videos from before I got sick. Look at birthdays, holidays, random Tuesday afternoons. Look at the backgrounds, look at the shadows, look at what's been hiding in plain sight. It's been with us for years. I just started seeing it clearly in March. I don't think it's from here, from our reality, and I think it's been waiting for someone in our family to notice it. I'm sorry I brought this thing into our lives. I'm sorry for being crazy, but I'm not crazy about this. Watch the tapes, please. Someone has to know the truth." Chapter 4. Emma was admitted to Riverside Psychiatric Hospital on July 3, 2023. The last time I saw her, she looked like a stranger. Hollow cheeks, dark circles under her eyes, hands that shook from medication, or fear, or both. She gripped my arm when I visited, leaned close and whispered, "It followed me here. It's in the hospital now. Check the cameras in the common room tonight. 11:30 p.m. You'll see." The nurses pulled her away, explaining gently that visitors were upsetting her delusions. Standard protocol for patients experiencing acute episodes. Emma died 3 days later. Apparent suicide, they said. Somehow got access to cleaning supplies, ingested industrial-strength bleach. The night security guard found her in the common room at 11:47 p.m. The hospital released security footage to help with the investigation, standard procedure for inpatient deaths, especially potential suicides. I've watched that footage hundreds of times now. It shows Emma entering the common room at 11:28 p.m. She's agitated, looking around frantically, talking to someone off camera. The timestamp shows her alone in the room. Emma's voice, distant and scared. "Why here? Why couldn't you leave me alone here?" At 11:30 exactly, something moves in the corner of the frame, just for a few seconds. A shadow that doesn't correspond to anything else in the room. A shadow that's impossibly tall and seems to be reaching toward Emma. Emma's voice screaming, "No! I won't let you! I won't let you hurt them!" She runs toward the janitor's closet. The cameras lose her for 4 minutes. When security finds her, she's on the floor, foam around her mouth, eyes wide open, staring at the ceiling. The official cause of death was suicide by chemical ingestion triggered by acute psychotic episode. Chapter 5. After the funeral, I inherited Emma's video collection, boxes and boxes of tapes dating back to childhood. I told myself I'd watch them eventually, when the grief wasn't so fresh. It took me 2 months to work up the courage. Home video sounds, childhood laughter, muffled. The early tapes are exactly what you'd expect. Birthday parties, Christmas mornings, family vacations. Emma giggling behind the camera, narrating our lives with the enthusiasm of a kid who thinks everything is worth documenting. But following her final instructions, I started looking at the backgrounds, really looking. And that's when I found it. Christmas 2018. Emma's 15, filming Dad assembling a bookshelf in the living room. Standard family chaos. Mom complaining about missing screws, me reading instructions that make no sense, Dad insisting he doesn't need help. In the corner of the frame, barely visible behind the Christmas tree, there's a shadow on the wall. It's wrong. The angle doesn't match any of the light sources in the room, and it's shaped like a person, a very tall person standing perfectly still. I checked the lighting, mapped out every lamp, every window, every possible source. That shadow shouldn't exist. Thanksgiving 2019. Emma's 16, documenting Mom's cooking process. The camera pans across the kitchen, and for just a moment it catches the reflection in the microwave door. There's someone standing behind Emma, someone tall enough that you can only see their torso in the reflection, someone who isn't visible when the camera turns around. Easter 2020. The pandemic lockdown meant just our immediate family for dinner. Emma's 17, filming our socially distanced celebration via video call with relatives. During the call, while we're all focused on the laptop screen, the camera catches movement in the dining room doorway, a figure stepping back as if it doesn't want to be seen by the relatives on the video call. But here's what really terrifies me. In every single recording where this shadow appears, Emma doesn't seem to notice it. Not until March 2023. Not until she turned 22. That's when something changed. That's when she started seeing it clearly. Chapter 6. I've spent weeks analyzing these recordings. Digital enhancement, frame-by-frame examination, audio spectrum analysis. Every tool I could find online or afford to buy. The results make no sense according to conventional understanding, but they're consistent across dozens of recordings spanning 5 years. The shadow appears in 73% of family gatherings recorded by Emma. It's always in peripheral spaces, doorways, reflections, corners of rooms. It's always watching our family, but it's particularly focused on Emma. The audio analysis is even more disturbing. In recordings where the shadow appears, There are subsonic frequencies present that don't occur in normal family videos. Sounds below human hearing range, but potentially detectable by sensitive individuals. And there's something else. In the weeks leading up to Emma's first official episode, the shadow's behavior changes. Instead of staying in the background, it starts moving closer. Instead of appearing randomly, it shows up in every single recording, like it was preparing for something. Chapter 7. I tried to explain my findings to Dr. Holston. Professional courtesy, I called it. Information that might be relevant to understanding Emma's case. Her response was predictable but kind. Grief can manifest in many ways, she explained. Sometimes family members develop their own delusions in response to losing someone to mental illness. She recommended counseling. I tried the police next. Reopening Emma's case based on new evidence. The detective was less kind but equally dismissive. Security footage showing shadows wasn't evidence of anything except poor camera quality and family members struggling with loss. So I started researching on my own. What I found changed everything I thought I understood about reality. There are others. Families scattered across the country, sometimes across the world, reporting similar experiences. Always the same pattern. Family member starts developing mental illness, claims something is following them, dies under mysterious circumstances. The forums are full of their stories. Parents whose children were diagnosed with schizophrenia before disappearing entirely. Siblings who found evidence of shadowy figures in old family photos. Spouses who discovered their partners had been documenting something invisible to everyone else. And there's academic research too, buried in psychology journals, anthropological studies, historical records. References to entities that exist parallel to human reality, visible only to certain individuals under specific circumstances. They're called watchers in most of the literature, beings that observe human families across generations, studying our behaviors, our relationships, our vulnerabilities. Most people never see them, but occasionally someone develops the ability to perceive their presence. When that happens, the watchers face a choice: retreat to avoid exposure or eliminate the threat. Emma wasn't mentally ill. She was gifted with perception that most humans lack, and that gift killed her. Chapter 8. There's one more recording I haven't mentioned yet. Emma's camera was still running when she died. I had to file a formal request to get this footage. Took 3 months and a lawyer's letter, but eventually the hospital released it as part of the investigation materials. The video is mostly dark, shot from inside Emma's hospital bag, where she'd hidden the small camera. But the audio is clear. Day 3 at Riverside. The medication makes everything fuzzy, but I can still see it. Standing at the foot of my bed every night. Taller than before. More solid. I've been talking to other patients. Sarah in room 314 sees things too. Says there's something wrong with the corner of the recreation room. Always cold, she says. Always watching. Dr. Peterson thinks I'm responding well to treatment because I'm not screaming anymore. I'm not screaming because I finally understand what it wants. It doesn't want to hurt me. It wants to use me, to get closer to my family. I've been like a bridge between its reality and ours. The more I see it, the more real it becomes for everyone else. I can't let that happen. I won't let it follow me home when I get discharged. I won't let it hurt Mom and Dad and my brother. Someone's coming. I have to hide this. If something happens to me tonight, if they find me dead, know that I chose this. I chose to break the bridge rather than let that thing cross over. I love you all. I'm sorry I couldn't explain this while you could still believe me. Chapter 9. Emma died protecting us. She died to prevent something inhuman from using her as a conduit into our reality. but I don't think she succeeded completely. Since starting this investigation, since watching all these recordings, I've begun to notice things. Shadows in my peripheral vision, cold spots in my apartment that don't correspond to any HVAC issues, sounds in the night that don't quite match anything normal. And yesterday, while reviewing footage for the 100th time, I saw something that made my blood freeze. In the background of Emma's final birthday video, behind all the celebration and normalcy, the shadow isn't watching Emma anymore. It's watching me. The doctors would say I'm experiencing grief-induced psychosis, shared delusions brought on by obsessing over my sister's mental illness. They'd be wrong. I've started recording everything now, just like Emma did, because if something happens to me, if I disappear or die under suspicious circumstances, someone needs to know the truth. The Watchers are real. They've been studying human families for generations, choosing individuals with the genetic or psychological makeup necessary to perceive them. When those individuals become aware of their presence, the Watchers must decide whether to retreat or to eliminate the witness. Emma fought back the only way she could, but her sacrifice only delayed the inevitable. Now it's my turn to see clearly, my turn to be the bridge. Chapter 10. I'm uploading these videos to multiple cloud storage accounts, sending copies to investigative journalists, mailing hard drives to paranormal researchers. If the Watchers want to silence me like they silenced Emma, they'll have to work much harder to bury the evidence. To my parents, if you're listening to this, I'm not crazy. Emma wasn't crazy. We were chosen by something that exists beyond normal human perception, and we were punished for seeing too clearly. To anyone else experiencing similar phenomena, document everything, but be careful who you trust. The medical establishment isn't equipped to understand what you're dealing with. Don't let them medicate you into blindness. And to the Watchers, if you're listening, I know you're here. I know you've been here all along. But unlike Emma, I'm not going to suffer in silence or sacrifice myself to protect others. I'm going to expose you. I'm going to make sure everyone knows that mental illness isn't always what it appears to be. That sometimes the people we dismiss as delusional are the only ones brave enough to see the truth. The shadows are moving now, closing in, just like they did with Emma. But I'm ready for them. If you find this video, if you're watching the Obscura Law Vault because something similar is happening in your family, remember Emma's story. Remember that sometimes the people we love aren't losing their minds. Sometimes they're the only ones seeing clearly. The investigation into Emma's case remains open, though officially classified as a suicide prompted by mental illness. Her brother's current whereabouts are unknown. His apartment was found empty 3 days after his final video upload, with no signs of struggle or forced entry. The family home stands vacant now, still filled with Emma's recording equipment and boxes of unexplained footage. If you've made it this far, if this story has left you questioning the shadows in your own peripheral vision, then you understand why channels like the Obscura Law Vault exist. We dig into the cases that others won't touch. We investigate the stories that challenge everything we think we know about reality. But we can't do this alone. If you want to see more investigations like Emma's case, if you want to help us uncover the truth behind stories that others dismiss as delusion or fiction, then hit that subscribe button now. Like this video to show YouTube that these stories matter. Share it with others who might be experiencing similar phenomena, because somewhere out there someone else is watching old family videos and noticing shadows that shouldn't exist. Someone else is being told they're mentally ill when they're actually seeing something real. They need to know they're not alone. They need to know that sometimes the Watchers are watching back. Until next time, keep your cameras rolling and your eyes open.